I never imagined that the worst day of my life would follow me for years, casting shadows over my marriage and self-worth. My name is Lily, and I'm 29 years old. My husband, Ethan, also 29, has been my partner for almost a decade. We met during college, bonded over our love of music and hiking, and built a life together filled with shared dreams. Ethan's dog, Max, was a big part of our relationship, a golden retriever he'd had since he was 16. Max was more than just a pet to Ethan. He was his emotional anchor during tough times. But everything changed 7 years ago. What started as an ordinary day turned into a nightmare that has haunted me ever since. It was a Thursday afternoon, and Ethan called me at work asking me to bring his headphones to him. I decided to bring Max along. He loved car rides, and I thought it would brighten Ethan's day to see his dog. I rolled the windows down so Max could enjoy the fresh air. At a red light, Max's attention was caught by a family walking nearby. In a split second, he leapt out of the window. I screamed as I watched helplessly. He darted into traffic and was hit by multiple cars. I rushed Max to the nearest veterinary ER, but it was too late. He passed away on the operating table. The vet's words blurred as guilt and despair consumed me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stop shaking. How could I have let this happen? When I told Ethan, his face crumpled with grief. "You were supposed to keep him safe," he said. Those words cut deep, but he never brought them up again. At least, not for a long time. The months following Max's death were agonizing. I was diagnosed with PTSD and started therapy. I replayed that day in my head endlessly, unable to forgive myself. Ethan was distant, but didn't openly blame me. We adopted another dog, Charlie, a year later, hoping it would help us heal. For a while, things seemed okay. Ethan and I settled into a routine, focusing on our careers and building a future together. But the cracks in our relationship were still there, invisible but growing. About a year ago, Ethan's comments started. At first, they were subtle jabs. "Don't let Charlie sit near the window," he'd say, his tone half joking but laced with bitterness. Over time, the comments escalated. "Don't go in the car with Mom, Charlie. She'll kill you. Remember what happened to Max? That's why I can't trust you with anything." Ethan began blaming me for other things too. Misplaced items, our financial struggles, even his mental health. It felt like every problem in our life was somehow my fault. The weight of his words crushed me, reopening wounds I thought had healed. My job became a refuge, but even there I faced challenges. A promotion opportunity slipped through my fingers because I was too distracted by the turmoil at home. My boss noticed my declining performance, adding to my stress. I encouraged Ethan to return to therapy. He agreed but spent a year refusing to open up to his therapist. "It's a waste of time," he'd say. Meanwhile, I continued my sessions trying to cope with the emotional abuse. Ethan's family was unaware of our struggles. They adored me and often commented on how lucky Ethan was to have me. Keeping up appearances during family gatherings became exhausting. Friends' intervention. My best friend, Sarah, noticed my unhappiness and confronted me. "You can't keep living like this, Lily. He's tearing you down." Her words planted a seed of doubt about staying in the marriage. Ethan's decline. Ethan's mental health worsened. He admitted he'd thought about ending his life but said I was the only reason he hadn't. The guilt of leaving him felt unbearable. One night, after another argument where Ethan called me a murderer, I broke down. "I can't keep doing this, Ethan. I'm drowning, and you're the one holding me under." He stared at me silent for a moment before shouting, "You think you're the victim here? You killed Max, you ruined everything." For the first time, I realized his anger wasn't just about Max. It was about everything he'd buried over the years, his fears, his failures, his pain. And I couldn't fix it for him. After that night, I made a decision. I packed a bag and left for Sarah's house. I wrote Ethan a letter explaining my choice. "I love you, but I can't save you. You need to want to save yourself. I hope you find the strength to heal." It's been 6 months since I left. Ethan finally committed to therapy and is making progress. I've started rebuilding my life, focusing on my career and mental health. We've spoken a few times, and while the pain hasn't disappeared, I'm learning to forgive myself. Leaving Ethan was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most necessary. Sometimes love means letting go, even when it hurts. Max's memory will always be with me, but I refuse to let that day define my entire life. To anyone struggling in a similar situation, you are not alone, and it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. Healing is possible, but it starts with making the choice to save yourself.